Introduce you.
So if we let our existing company kind of move along, because we're usually 12 months tickets, right?
So, hey everybody, Andy Riddler with the Restaurant Association. Thank you for all being here today. We appreciate it. We have a special opportunity to hear a little bit about driving revenue through customer service. This is an important topic of discussion. It's one that we don't all talk about, but it's a key importance, especially in this market. We have a lot of competition. There's a lot of effort to really deliver an experience for our customers that is second to none. And that's really what's going to distinguish those restaurants that are going to continue to operate in this positive environment and those that aren't. So we want to make sure that every member of our organization is running a positive organization and is able to experience those revenue opportunities. So Garry is with Service Advisor USA, has extensive experience in customer service from international through the cruise ships that he's worked with on down to, he got a culinary school, he's done just a variety of things. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce him, and I think you're going to get a lot of valuable information from this session. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and I will be back closer to the end.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much. And thank you for putting this together. Absolutely. Thank you for coming. We're very excited to have you here. This next hour, I would like to open it up to you. This is all about you. It's not about me standing up here and talking for this next hour. We want to make it engaging. So if you have questions or if you'd like to share a story, please do. Andy had said, my name is Garry Abbs. My company's name is Service Advisor USA. We are a customer service expert company. We focus on customer service. And the main thing that we do is customer service measurement, standard operating procedures, training and development from a 3 to 5 star level, and also we do recruitment. And so those are our main focuses. I'd like to introduce also a couple people that are here, part of my team. I have Mark Mateos, who's our partner with Survey Local, and my wife, Joy Abbs with Service Advisor USA. They're going to be helping in the conversation as we go. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good. I'd like to start off just briefly a little bit about my background so that you understand a little bit about me. I was born in Los Angeles, California. I'm a Dodger fan. But we got Clayton Kershaw from Dallas too, Highland Park, so that's great. But I actually, most of my life, I grew up in Las Vegas, and so I was very blessed to work for some of the finest hospitality companies in the world. Has anybody heard of Steve Wynn? Everybody heard of Steve Wynn? Anybody not know Steve Wynn? So let me tell you who Steve Wynn is. Steve Wynn is the one that redefined Las Vegas. The first hotel I began working for him at was the Mirage Hotel back in 1989. I started off as a busboy in the buffet. I was working my way through college. I went to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Back then, we had a stellar basketball team. We were number 1 in the nation, so there was a lot of buzz happening back in the 89, 90s with Mr. Wynn, because Mr. Wynn supported the school heavily. Also, if you know he is rated the number 1 hospitality school in the world. And so I was very blessed to be starting my career there. Felt like that was the hospitality capital of the world, Las Vegas. Bust my way up to the next level, which was bellboy. So I used to knock on doors and talk to people and bring up the luggage. And by that time, Treasure Island had opened with the Pirates. And I was a bellboy, and I actually had knickers on, black knickers with black socks, and belt buckles that covered my shoelaces, puffy white shirt, and a purple vest, and a red tie. And I was a buccaneer. And that's how they dressed us, so it was very themed. Treasure Island was back then. It's no longer that way. And then the Bellagio. Bellagio is kind of like the top, the creme of the creme, right? How many have been to the Bellagio? Okay, great. So it's very beautiful, it's very elegant, it's all about customer service. Steve Wynn does everything of excellence. Now he has his own properties, Wynn, and Wynn Encore also. And he's also in Macau. And so he's growing that business in China which is probably even doing better in Las Vegas because Macau's actually tenfold of what Vegas is now. Has anybody been to Macau? No. I just we went to Macau. One of our clients is from Macau. It's a Galaxy Macau. We were just there last month. It blew me out of the water. It's Vegas on steroids. Pretty awesome. So that's a little bit about my background in Las Vegas. Now, if you can imagine, when you grow up in that environment, it's much different than Dallas. It's basically Sin City. So anything goes there. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I got tired of it. I wanted to do something different. So I got into the spa industry. And I worked for Canyon Ranch Spa Club, the largest day spa in the world at that time. Got to see every celebrity you can imagine, from Britney Spears to Eminem to whoever. They came in there. Alyssa Milano came in there. All these people came in there, very high end. The company wanted me to do research and development into the cruise industry. So I did. And we got them on the Oceanic and Regional Seven Seas cruise lines. I didn't want to go in the spot, so what I did is I put an application with Royal Caribbean because it really caught my interest. Got hired at Royal Caribbean, and they flew me to Alaska for my first contract as a guest relations manager. And that's where I met my wife. My wife actually worked with me on Celebrity. She was from India, and I was from Vegas, and that's where the romance started. Ended up getting promoted quite quickly in the cruise industry. Loved it. Very more challenging than a hotel because it's a challenge. It's a hotel that moves. So logistics are a challenge. You order your provisions. It's not like you can call the provision place down Ben-Hur or whoever it is that you order your produce or your beverages from. You have to plan it days ahead, if not weeks. So it's very challenging. I worked my way up in guest relations, which was 3 stripes, up to hotel director, which is 4 stripes, which is the general manager of the hotel. And I enjoyed it. I thought I was at the pinnacle of my career. I could have died right there in that position. Loved the position. Many perks that we were fortunate to have. I was in that position for a short time, got promoted again because there was an unfortunate accident that happened on the ship, off the ship in Eureka, Chile, involved 60 of our guests. 14 of the 60, it was a group from New York City. 14 of those 60 decided to take a van up in the hills in Eureka, Chile, and flip the van, killed 12, 2 critical. So I had to get my team together in this room. I had 12 members of my top rank, and we actually had to welcome everybody back on the ship because nobody knew what was going on, and we had to call those 60 minus 14 people into a room like this and tell them what happened to their uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters. And so we had to take them by the hand for the next 2 weeks because it was the first port of a 2-week cruise. And we had to make sure the rest of the 2,000 guests were not affected by that and had a great time. Long story short, come back to the port, they promote me to the corporate offices. And that's where I was a workforce planning manager. Loved it, did it for 3 years in the corporate offices, very successful. Got to learn how to move 55 different nationalities to par the levels, to make sure that the par levels on the ship were manned. Very challenging job, but I learned so much about travel, medicals, passports, visas, everything that you can imagine about traveling crew. I did. Which gets me to where we're at here in the culinary. I got laid off. They outsourced my whole department to the Philippines. And I was not very happy, as you can imagine. And so I went to India with my wife, and we opened up a culinary school to get Indians ready to work on cruise lines. And we were very successful. We did it for 4 years. And that 4th year, that's when things started really rolling for the business. You know, for those of you that have businesses, you understand it takes some time to build it up. And it was the 4th year was magical for us. Fortunately, the police started following us, and the politicians had their hands up. And so I was not about to play that game. There was a lot of challenging things that happened. So we ended up coming back to Vegas. I got back on my feet. I started off as an executive director for a senior living facility not too far from here. Did it for 6 months, and it was time to launch Service Advisor USA. So that kind of brings you up to speed with where we're a little bit about myself. And today, does anybody have any questions about my career, about Las Vegas, cruise lines, anything like that? Okay, just to get started, So raise your hand if you are a restaurant owner. Restaurant owner? Okay. Restaurant management? Okay, most management. And everybody else line level or vendors?
I'm a vendor.
Vendor? Okay, very good. So we all know that in business that customer service is vital. Did you know that $83 million annually is lost in business because of poor customer service? Let me ask you a question. Do you know how much money that your restaurant had lost this year because of poor customer service? Probably not, right? Do you think that you did lose money this year? Probably, right? Right? And you know that I put Donald Trump here because this is kind of like how I am when it comes to customer service when it happens in a restaurant. If I receive bad service in a restaurant, I just don't come back. And 62% of people that are loyal that receive bad service actually change brands. They just change brands. They go to another restaurant or another business to do their business. And 96% of unhappy guests, customers, they will simply not complain. Now that's scary. That is scary. How many of you guys know who your customers are? Like I was always thinking, I sit in a restaurant. Some of these restaurants I've been have no idea who is sitting at their tables. And it would be great to know who's coming in your restaurant, right? Because that's a great marketing concept to get them back into your restaurant, right? So, and 91% of those simply leave and never come back. So that means that 5% of the 96% probably will come back because, maybe of your location, but 96%, 91% will not come back. They won't come back to you. So what is the dollar amount that you're losing if that's happening in your restaurant? A dissatisfied customer will tell between 9 and 15 people about their experience. We've all heard this, right? We know that you watch the news, for example, CNN, Fox, whatever you watch. What do they focus on? What is the news about? Negative. People want to hear what's bad. Oh, there was a hurricane over here. Oh, there's a protest over here. People want to hear that, right? But does good service spread also? Yes. If I eat at a restaurant, the first thing I do is I tell somebody about it. Oh, this restaurant I just went to, honey, it was fantastic. I got to take the family over there. Right? You tell people, and then that grows your business too when you get good customer service. The powers of the World Wide Web. Today, bad customer service or poor customer service can shut you down. Yelp. Who knows about Yelp? Does anybody in here monitor Yelp to see how they're doing? Okay. Right? And so, do you respond to negative comments, or does somebody in your company respond to negative comments?
Oh yeah.
If you go on Yelp and you start looking at some negative comments, you'll notice restaurants that will not respond. I'm not going to say the name, I could, and if I said the name, 1, 2, 3, everybody here would know the bad experience I had, right? And that's what we're talking about. You don't want to have a negative experience. You don't want to give poor customer service because that's going to spread like wildfire, especially with the use of the internet. I blasted them on Yelp. Blasted them. I would, for sure, I would have bet money from Vegas that they were going to get back to me. That wasn't my intention. I didn't do that. I really did have a bad customer experience. I wasn't testing them. Did not come back to me. They just lost a customer and an opportunity to turn me around. Because I tell you what, everybody in here, if they got a call from a manager and said, Mr. Jones, I just read on Yelp that something happened to you. Can you please tell me about it? And I really wanted to listen to what you had to say because I want you to come back. You would forgive somebody if they're going to do that for you, right? You would forgive them, especially, honey, come on in. You would forgive them. There's an opportunity that they could actually make more revenue off of me. But there was no effort no effort on behalf of that, and that was disappointing to me because that told me that whoever's running that restaurant does not either one care, right? Why wouldn't they? They should, right? That's how they do their business, and that's going to be spread on the web. So almost 1 in 4 Americans actually post about their customer service, their comments online, and 1 million view tweets about customer service every week. That's a lot of people, right? Does anybody in here have a story about customer service, a negative experience that happened in your restaurant that actually went online, and how did you handle it? Anybody like to share about that experience? No? Everybody's shy? Don't tell me it's never happened before. Mark, do you have any examples that you can think about?
Sure. So Garry and I have worked together on a project or two. I'm with Survey Local, so he very much is on the side of training the staff and working with the staff. And I'm with Survey Local. We're a digital marketing agency specifically helping with customer reviews and brand reputation. So we work with a lot of restaurants, and I'm sure you're all aware that there are negative experiences that happen. So there's key factors or key things that you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of that situation. One, unfortunately, is following up, which can be a task. There are businesses that offer services to do that, but I'm blanking on a specific example. But with every restaurant customer, and it doesn't even have to be restaurant, it's any customer service-based business has those reviews, and as from his earlier slide showed, it mentioned that 9 to 15 friends are going to hear about it. I would say that that's amplified by about 10 online. So, online reviews are incredibly important in your day-to-day business, and something that you should focus on if you're not currently. So, absolutely.
Are you looking for an example of just a bad review?
Yeah, a bad review, and if your company had taken action, just use that as an example of what was done.
An action to, yes,
Like a
sorry
response.
for your experience,
Right.
or fully as if, I'm clarifying, because I misunderstood what you were
So basically, I had that experience. I put it on Yelp, and then start from there. Like, how was the response, and what specifically did you do to try to recover that?
So not now. I don't necessarily live in an operation at the moment, but in a past life, certainly we've all dealt with the reviews, and usually the approach was, you try to. The one thing that I think now I've found that pisses off a lot of customers who feel like they've taken precious time out of their day to leave a review is that that generic response. Thank you so much. Love management. So we try to personalize each response to the review, which takes time, which is why there are services out there that do that. But depending on what it is, we basically we apologize for whatever happened. We try not to admit fault, particularly depending on what it is, but we apologize for their experience and offer to engage in offline conversation. And at that point, most people do respond positively with the desire to continue discussing it. I think for me, it would be great to know how can we get to that 96% who don't say anything, because I'm sure there are people in this room who know that as soon as they leave the restaurant, before valeting off their car, people have already left a review. And it's like you have the gumption to type it out, just say it to my face.
Right.
Why won't you let me fix it while you're here? For me, that's what I would want to know. How do I not prevent people, but how do I get the opportunity to fix it before it comes in online?
Right. And that could be a variety of reasons why they don't. It could be some people don't like to have conflict because they know that there could be an opportunity for conflict that could arise.
Yeah.
It could be a time issue. It could be you know what, you just you're fired, and I ain't gonna give you a chance, I don't even care if you do call me back, type of thing. So it depends, everybody's different in that. And that 96% throughout this, at the end of this, or sometime during this presentation, we're going to tell you how we can actually tap into that 96%. And that's gold, and that's where you'll really get your revenue going. Okay, so grow revenue through customer engagement. That is the topic today. And in Business 101, they taught us that a business is in business for what? To make money, right? If you don't make any money, you can't even open the door, you can't hire anybody, you can't serve food. You need to make money. And who gives us money? The customer, right? So the customer is king. Customer is God, as they say in India. That's what Gandhi used to say. And so when we talk about engaging the customer and customer service and customer experience, what's the difference between those three? What is customer experience? Customer experience is everything. It's not, I mean, I could put about 20 more of these things at least minimum, right? Customer experience could be a phone call that they receive, an article that's in a magazine, an advertisement of your magazine, a uniform, a name tag. That all is part of the customer experience. Anything that the customer can see, hear, taste, smell. What else did I hear? Touch. Thank you. That's the whole customer experience. Now, engaging the customer could pretty much be the same thing, but what is human engagement? Can you serve somebody without a human? Nowadays, a lot of service is happening because of electronics, right? Like on your internet or whatever it might be, your technology. These are the things that we're going to be talking about specifically today. I am offering a course at Collin College that is actually 4 weeks times twice a week. That's 3.5 hours about this subject. So we're just going to go very high level. I'm just going to hit the very most important aspects of customer engagement, customer experience. Okay. We're going to be talking about restaurants, management, and employees when it relates to this topic. The restaurant. I think everybody's got something in common here since we're at the Restaurant Association. When we're, I'm sorry. The customer. The customer is the most important thing. Do you know who your customer is? Where are they from? Do they live in your neighborhood? What is their cultural makeup? What is their demographics? How much do they make? Can they afford your restaurant? Who is your customer? Is very important. I'll give you an example. On the cruise ship, before the next cruise, I would get a report in front of me that would tell me everybody that's coming on board, what state they're from, what country they're from, what language, if they have that ability, what language they spoke. That only helped me so that we can customize our service to meet your expectations. Because these customers are coming to spend money. And when they spend money and they don't get what they want, are they happy? No. I don't think there's anybody that likes to spend money and not have what they think they're going to buy, right? So it's a value. Customers need to have value for what they pay for. And so knowing your customer is very important. And these are 6 things that we ask with our clients, that we sit down with our clients and, do you know who your clients are? You know, what do they do for a living? When do they come and frequent? Here's another idea. When the ship was in Mediterranean, we have to shift the times of the dining experience because most of the guests that were on board were from Europe, and they eat late. They were coming into our dining room 8:30, 9 o'clock at night to dine. In America, we eat at 5:30, 6 o'clock, so it's very early. So we have to shift based upon the customer. So it's very important that you understand your customer before you can give them any type of experience. You can't say, oh, I'm going to give a great customer experience, but I don't know who my customers are. So this is very important, is to know your customer. The restaurant. So since you know your customer, oops, maybe he's going to kill me if I break this. Excuse me. So there's different tiers of restaurants, right? There's different restaurants that serve different food, right? So if you know your customer, how many of you guys have actually started your restaurant from scratch? Just said, hey, I want to go into the restaurant industry. No? Okay. So I'll give you an example, because this kind of happened with my wife and I. We had a business in India. We were creating a business. It wasn't a restaurant, but we were creating a business based upon a customer type. A customer from India. I didn't know too much about India except for the exposure that I had on the cruise ship. My wife was the one that was helping me, telling me a lot of times that's not going to work. That's not going to work. This would, these are things that, especially going into a different country, you need to know what the culture is, let alone what the culture of your vicinity is. Is there a different culture between Dallas and Las Vegas? Yeah. Is there a different culture between Dallas and Houston? Definitely one in Austin, right? It's definitely different in Austin. But there's a different culture that you have to understand. What do I need to do with my restaurant to attract that customer to come into my place? It could be the design. How do you design your place? How does it look? What are the colors? When I worked for Steve Wynn, we had upgraded our suites, and it included the color yellow, and it included the number 4 on the doors, which did not work for the Asian population. So what Steve Wynn had to do, he had to tear everything out. He spent all this money on these suites, tear everything out and redesign it, because they didn't do their homework on the culture. They spent all this money to develop these suites. So it's very important that you understand who your culture is and what you're trying to go after with your restaurant too. Now, the senses, we're all humans. We all are attracted about the senses. What about your restaurant makes it stand out from your competition? Is there live music in there? Is there background music in there? What type of music are you playing? Is there videos that are maybe in your waiting area so that people don't have to think about the wait time? What is it that you're going to create to attract the senses of the body, of the human being? Taste obviously is going to be your food, your presentation of your meals. That adds to the engagement of the customer also, right? And then the smells. Smells. If you've been into a Las Vegas hotel, as soon as you walk in, you smell some kind of fragrance, right? It used to be smoke. It used to be smoke. I remember going into casinos and walking out. Now, I never smoked a cigarette, but I smelled like I did, And so, smell is very important too, and that adds to the engagement or the customer experience. Management can make or break you. You have a bad manager, might as well shut your doors, right? How many have you experienced a bad manager that worked for you? Anybody?
We worked for one. We worked for one.
We've worked for one too. All of us have probably worked for a bad manager, right? So we all know what a bad manager is, but a good manager can bring revenue to you. And sometimes a good manager might cost you a little bit more for the salary, but at the end of the day, he might be well worth it, because what is the cost of a bad manager, right? So who is your management? What kind of experience do they have? How do they engage the customers? Do they engage the employees? Right? Where and how do they engage? How can management create a productive culture? This is something that we focus on at Service Advisor USA, is that there's an internal culture that actually goes to the customer, right? So in essence, have you guys heard Virgin Airlines? Steve Wynn at Mirage Resorts, Yankees Wynn Resorts. They focus on the employees. So what Steve Wynn told us, he says, I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to take care of them. So I'm just going to focus on you, because I know if I focus on you, that you're going to take care of my customers. And that's very important when we talk about management. Does management engage your employees? Do they engage your customers? One of the greatest things about working on the ship was that we used to get a report, and there was a correlation, there was a direct correlation of my overall customer experience based upon how much they saw me. How does management walk around? Does the chef come over and say, hey, how's your food? That's part of the experience. That shows that you care. The more that you show that you care, from the hostess to the waitress to the bus person to the chef, that will bring people back. But if they come in there and they have a bad experience and nobody greeted them at the hostess station, they waited over there, the waitress just didn't care, didn't even introduce herself, people will not come back for that. And that relies on the management and how well that they, one, hire the staff first. You got to hire properly first. And then you got to train your staff and communicate with them and motivate them, right? And keep them uplifted so that way that they can perform for the customer. So that's very, very important there. Also, when we talk about management, this is where I want to talk to, is does management, are you giving management, or are you receiving as a manager the tools that you need to be successful? For example, I give you guys examples of reports that I had. How many of you guys actually do get reports on your performance of your staff or the customer service of how many customers are coming back? What is the average spend? What is the average spend per waitress or waiter, server? Are they upselling? Who's getting the comment cards? And who's are getting the negative comment cards? Do you guys get that? Because if you get that, those are the tools that you need to operate your restaurant. If you're not getting that, you're basically going by what you see and feel and see. But if you have basic data, that will allow you to be more focused and get things done a lot more effective. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in future slides. And employees. I already said this. Employees are probably going to make or break you. Why? Because these are the people that this is where the rubber hits the road. They have direct contact with your customers. Your management is overseeing the whole customer experience, but these guys actually have the engagement with your staff. Do they know your menu? Do they know where your other locations are? Do they know everything about your company? Because that's what your customer's going to ask. Oh, we've never been here. Or, hey, I've been over the one over there in McKinney. I didn't know. And there's nothing worse than that waitress saying, oh, I didn't know we had one in McKinney. And so, or not knowing the menu. You have to know the menu. This takes training. This takes time to spend with the employees. If you have a very well educated, trained employee that knows your business, that understands your culture, that's a vibrant workplace, that has a great manager. Well, it has a great manager, and this person's very well trained. Your customer's going to touch that. They're going to feel that, right? They're going to know that. Have you ever guys went to, I used to tell this to my guest relations teams on the cruise ship. We were rated out of 10 ships, the worst of the fleet. In 3 months I brought them to number 1. And I told them this. I said, when I come to you guys' desk, I can take a knife and I can cut the air. I can cut the air. If you guys have been to a funeral, you can cut the air. You go to a party or a nightclub, it's like upbeat, right? I said, that's what you guys got to create here. People feel that. We're human beings. People feel that. They got to feel that bubbliness, that you care for them, that you're excited about what you do. You're passionate about what you do. People will feel that. And if your customers can feel that from your employees, it only adds to the experience. right? So it's very important that your management understands that. They understand what the vision and what you're trying to achieve as a company, and that's spilled into your employees, and your employees are spilling that right into your customers. So customer experience, those are three pretty key areas of customer experience. This one area, now one cannot work without the other. If you have a restaurant that maybe inside the design, maybe it's worn down, maybe it's worn, but the employees are awesome. And these guys are happy with them, but they're not very happy with this. You still probably could have a thriving business. I saw it. I've seen it happen. We were about to sell off our crappiest ship in the fleet, and the guests were complaining we were selling off the ship, and it was the worst ship. Why? They fell in love with our employees. You guys are not going to fire your employees. No, we're going to spread them throughout our fleet. They were so used to going to that ship because of the employees. How many of you have restaurants like that where people come just because you're employees? It might not be the greatest restaurant, but they love the people that work there, right? Management is key. I don't think you can survive if you have bad management. It won't work. And employees are the same, right? That's where the rubber hits the road. You'll probably see a high turnover of people in your restaurant if this happens, right? So we're talking about growing revenues through customer engagement. This person has a lot to do with that. If you have a very vibrant, energetic person that's going to inspire your staff and train them, they will produce and help your customers be more happy, so that they stay with you and keep coming back for more and more and more. So the overall customer experience, again, it includes a lot more than these things, but these are three main areas that I wanted to talk to you about. But one of the things that like I brought up too is the reporting of knowing how that you can improve your great customer experience so that you can grow your revenues. What gets measured gets done. I get paid to go into clients and work with their staff to elevate their customer service. As soon as I walk out that door, it can go. It's like taking the money and throwing it down the toilet. If they don't measure where they're at on the map right now as far as customer service and how effective my training was, and see that there was an increase because I was working with their management team to increase the effectiveness of their operation. You're throwing your money away on a consultant that does that. The first thing you need to do is know where you are on the map. Where are you? How good are you? One of the things that Mark's team is working on right now is a dashboard. Do you mind if I talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so a dashboard. So how cool would it be that you as a manager would be able to access a dashboard? It's kind of like some of you probably are used to a balance scorecard, but it will give you a measurement of how well your Yelp score is. It also will tell you any negative comments, and this is just one area. It will tell you TripAdvisor. Some of you guys use TripAdvisor. It'll tell you the effectiveness of how well you're doing at TripAdvisor. If a company like Service Advisor does your mystery shopping, it'll have your mystery shopping score on there. Also, it'll have recommendations on how to elevate those scores. I couldn't tell you how many managers I've met in my past that look at a report and they can't translate that report into what's happening in the operation. They have all the tools, but nobody knows how to use those tools to effectively increase the revenues. But what if you had that? And that's what Survey Local is actually working on right now. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. You know, our focus is capturing data, and I think we're on the data side of the house. Again, he's very much on the customer side of the house, and educating staff and clients on how to interact and things like that. And we're on the side of capturing as much data as we can, proactively intercepting negative feedback, allowing customers to leave positive feedback on sites that you value as a business and they value when searching for you, and then allowing your key management to be able to have a bird's eye view of what's happening in your restaurant with the customers, what they're saying, and it allows the management and business to focus on the most important things to improve you as quickly as possible.
That's great. So Survey Local offers a very vibrant data system that can give you that data and those reports, and that's why I bring it up, because that's the thing that has actually made my teams elevate, because if I'm working on a plan to execute, to think that it's going to elevate my customer service, and I don't have anything that's monitoring it, how am I going to know it's actually working or not? You know, unless at the end of the month when I'm kind of calculating everything up. But this is ongoing. And how do you measure, in this room, who uses customer feedback to see where they're at right now? Very good, very good. What type of feedback are you using right now?
I work for Gordon Food Service, so we're a broadline distributor, and we measure, it's called the Customer Experience Indicator, and it's all about complete on-time delivery. And we either give ourselves a 100 or a 0, because if we don't meet one of those three, then we failed the customer for whatever reason.
Right.
Whether it was a late truck, it wasn't, the product wasn't on the truck, it was damaged. And that's a good indicator of how happy our customers are. It's not, certainly not everything, but that's a big indicator of how we're doing against our competitors, because we're privately held and both of our major competitors are not. And they have their metrics out there. So it's a story that we can tell our customers based on, you know, where we are, how we measure their you know.
So it's either you did it or you don't. So it's
Right.
pass-fail almost, like, right?
It is pass-fail.
I smile because when you said 100-0, when we were in India, I had a wall of this size, and I had 100/0 in big letters. And the reason why I did that was because when people walked into my academy, the first thing I knew they were going to ask me, what is that 100-0? I said 100% accountable, 0 excuse. So it sent the message to the candidates, hey, this is a serious school, and it was, because we had to get them trained at 5. So sorry.
No, it's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, we failed if we didn't meet one of them.
Right, and that's in the food and beverage industry. Usually, like when we did Ritz-Carlton, for example, we did obviously 10 different departments, including food and beverage. But the experience that was done in the restaurant is measured on a 0 to 100 scale. So you know, they got a 70, they got an 80 or 90. Etc. And we look at that to make sure that we're consistently doing the same way that we're grading them. Is the same way that we're grading the Four Seasons, and the same reason it's got to be consistent. Because what they say is bad data in is bad data out. So if you get inaccurate data that you're working with, it doesn't help anybody. You know, it has to be quality data from people that have a trained eye, that understand what's going on in the operation, and that can give you that data so that that manager can make right decisions. Right? So, and there's different ways to measure customer feedback, such as secret shopper. That's what we do. We go into different restaurants and hotels and any type of businesses. Right now we're working with Plano Heart Hospital. We have a project there right now. And we go in there, we do a mystery shop, and we work with we train their staff. Also, you have the internet, obviously, with, like we talked about, Yelp and all these different other places that they actually give you customer feedback. Again, you're going to get these from your customers directly. You're not going to get it from a trained eye. So sometimes you'll see, and I know all of us have experienced this, sometimes you'll see something that somebody puts on a site, and it might not really make sense to you because you think that you actually are meeting the standards, but you have to see it from the customer's eye, because sometimes the customer's eye is what counts, right? But with the differences between going by Yelp and going from a secret shopper is that that person that's doing the secret shopper has got a trained eye in the operation and understands your guys' shoes and understands from a waitress perspective and the wait times and things like that. Whereas this is a little bit more just going off of the general public's, which is good. Both of them are good. Both of them are good. Also, how many of you have customer survey or customer comment cards? You guys use customer cards? And it's still on paper? It's not on paper? Okay, you guys do it on paper? You guys have probably seen that some restaurants now are doing it like on the screen. Chili's, for example, is using those screens. So technology is coming in there. The reason they do that and using technology like that is it's easier to get faster, right? When I worked on the ship again, it was all paper. Could you imagine having to go through 2,000 a week, one ship? We had 10 ships in the fleet every week. That company has to go through all that data. I receive handwritten comments, about that thick, every week, and then I receive my numbers by department. And what I used to do, because I was a good manager, I used to take the comments that had my employees' names in, highlight it, and give it to my secretary, and she would actually type a thank you card like this, be a thank you card to my employee with the specific comment that was made about that person, and I would sign it and stamp each one. I knew it worked. Why? Because one time an employee didn't get theirs, and they came knocking at my door looking for their card. So little things like that that you can actually show that you appreciate your customers or your employees are very vital.
Gary?
Yes.
Might I just add,
Sure.
I mean, you know, as we move into the digital age, I would just say that it can be extremely valuable to convert those comment cards to digital, not only to make it more simple for the customer, but in many instances, it's a fantastic opportunity to capture the client info and use that for remarketing purposes and so many other things. So it's much more than just the ease of it. You know, there's real value in having that client information.
And that's where that 96% of people that are walking out that didn't have a good experience. Well, Survey Local has found a way to capture those 96% so that you guys can bring it back. And that's by capturing through the comment cards, or maybe you're giving some kind of giveaway, or you're doing some type of raffle that you can capture, or a loyalty card. So maybe you guys have loyalty cards that when they come back, you buy 5 copies, you get 6 free, or whatever it's going to be. You capture their data, you capture their names, you capture their email addresses, their phone numbers, and now you can ping them back. Just ask them, which Survey Local asks them one question: did you have a good experience with us? Yes or no? That's all. If it's a no, it will come back to you as a manager, and you can call them back because you can capture their data, you can capture their information, and that information also can be used to invite them back. Somebody that had a great time can invite them back and experience you again. So this is what we're working with the Survey Local. Another thing is, like I said, interaction. Getting feedback, asking them face to face. That's what I was saying earlier when my scores, my overall customer experience scores on the cruise ship increased when I got all my managers out of their offices and they were walking around like Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. That's what I felt like sometimes because I had my stripes. But people like that. They like to see that. And then when I said, hey, how's your cruise experience? Are you enjoying your cruise? They would open up, and if I was hoping they would say something negative, because that gives me an opportunity to turn them around, right? If they just kept it to themselves, or I never asked them, I'm going to lose them to a different brand, right? They're going to go to Royal Caribbean, or they're going to go to Carnival, other than Celebrity Cruises. So asking your customers face to face, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, people like that. We used to have our executive chefs go around the tables and do that. Your waiters. Are your waiters asking them, well, how's your experience? Did you enjoy that meal? How was that plate? Did you enjoy your drink? Are you training your staff to do that? That's an awesome opportunity to capture these people and keep them loyal to your company, to your restaurant. Oh, sorry. Okay. So using measurement to drive customer service and revenue. So like we spoke about, there's a different ways to capture all this information. Get it. Get accurate information in front of your management team so they can put a plan together. And consult the plan with your teams. Consult with the management teams and your employees that are actually face to face with your customers. Make sure you're aligned. Make sure that they know. You know, all my staff, we had a big board, all my staff knew what their ratings were every cruise. And they were excited to see, let's see what we got this time. And I would reward them when they received a good rating. You know, it excites people when they see numbers. They actually see actuality happening right there. Something that they can chase after to get better. It keeps you focused on something, right? See the magnifying glass? It keeps you focused on a number to get better. And then as a manager, you're like, man, I didn't do that this week. Okay, let's get a plan together. Let me get my team together. How can we do better? One person, if you just rely on yourself to get it done, it ain't going to work, because you need those different eyes in the operation to see things from a different perspective. So what that takes, though, it takes you taking off the ego and being open to listening, right? First thing I did when I got the hotel director position on the ship, I put the executive chef's uniform. I never was a cook. I was a hospitality school, but most of my background was in service department. I didn't learn how to cook. I had a culinary school. I had an executive chef. I didn't know anything about cooking. I knew about sanitation because I had to have the USPH certified, but I didn't know how to cook. But I put the chef's uniform on, and I was cooking right next to them to show the staff that I was one of them, that I was superior to them, that when I take this jacket off, I'm the same. I might have stripes on here, but hey, I serve you. And if you have management that's serving your team and giving them the tools and communicating with them and inspiring them, those are the people that are seeing your customers. If you're not making them feel good, how are they going to make your customers feel good? Right? So it's very important that you're doing that. And then you can take action. Right? So we need, once you put that plan together, that management team needs to take action. What I'd like to do, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the idea of capturing that 96% that are unhappy with that yes and no thing. If you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure.
And if you can actually give us examples of how it has worked with.
Sure, absolutely. So our focus as a business, you know, we are specific to online reviews and reputation, like I mentioned. And we feel that the most valuable information or reviews for your business are ones where they're going to be seen by your customers or your potential customers. And what we found is that when you look better than your competition on those third-party sites, that's where the rubber meets the road. In capturing new clients, when you can look better than that restaurant next door, you're going to get a client looking at lunch for the best restaurant in the area. So what we've done is we created a simple tool, and we, as he mentioned, only ask one question: would you recommend us, yes or no? And what we've done, we created a software tool that will detect on your customer's phone or computer which survey site they already have an account with. So if they say, yes, I'm happy, we're going to detect, and you prioritize, let's say, Google, Facebook, Yelp. We're going to detect for Google, and if they have a Google account, we'll take them exactly where they need to go to leave an authentic review on Google. It's great to have good internal feedback, but it's more valuable to have a client leaving a positive review to compare you to your competition, right? And then if for any reason they say no, we keep them internally, we ask them why, and we send that information to the business and allow you to follow up with the customer on a case-by-case basis.
So basically, this tool will promote the good and get it online, and it will protect from the bad because it will give you the opportunity to correct the situation before they post it online. Yes?
So how do you get on their phones?
So we'll use a text message, an email, and so we have several different ways to do that. In a restaurant situation, it can be through a loyalty program where you're capturing their data. We've used either table temps with a QR code. It really just depends on whatever situation you have as a restaurant. We even worked with internet providers where in order to access your free internet or free Wi-Fi, they have to use a social login. So, you know, there's creative ways to be able to capture your client's information, and with that, you know, it's just a very simple follow-up. We want it as low touch as possible, because, you know, that's what inevitably people hate about customer surveys. It's, hey, this is going to take you 10 minutes, and so your conversion is 2-3%. Whereas if I can ask you a simple yes or no question, I can get 30-40% of your customers walking in and out the door to respond, and then, you know, with that data you can do a lot of different things. You know, internal data you can use to coach your staff. You're able to see from a bird's eye view what's happening in the restaurant, and then obviously the real value is those online reviews.
Thank you. Yes. So, I mean, you can see just from capturing that data, it's going to be able to give you that opportunity to keep people and recover. I think the recovery is something that I learned is probably the most valuable, because if people are having a great experience, you really don't have to worry about it. But what's nice is that